So if you're just tuning in, again, welcome to Two Ferns in Between. I'm Justin Boggs. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Marketplace Valet. And what we're doing today is we're talking about growing brands, different online strategies, as well as offline. And I got kind of two subject matter experts in front of me. We have Jean Francois, who is Head of Commerce Development at Ingram Micro. And he also does consulting for brands on growth, as well as Will Land, who's the CEO of Marketplace Valet. Thanks for joining me. Welcome to Two Ferns in Between. And as we were talking, we were discussing how to help brands grow in 2019. The discussion's been fantastic so far. We brought up kind of online retailers and marketplaces. And what you guys started to make me think about is, do you feel like brands, especially even micro brands, are not thinking about offline, like brick and mortar stores, the way that they should be? I mean, it's still 88% of retail, and yet, the strategies we've been talking about are kind of only online oriented. So like, what's...
Yeah, I mean, I think that retail is super important for brands because branding is all about putting eyeballs on product. Yeah. And what better place to do that is on a shelf, where consumers are walking by it every single day. That's all brand building. I mean, we've done case studies before where, a product is no longer in retail and they've gone, completely digital, and their sales suffer from it because they're losing that brand recognition.
Right. No, that makes sense. I mean, especially when we talk about big box, like I can have a choice between ordering certain items on Amazon or just getting in my car and driving to Target. Sometimes I'll do the drive, right? Because I know what I want to buy and I want to walk by it and touch it and feel it. I think that gets lost sometimes these days, especially with new brands. So like micro brands, like you mentioned, and certain digitally native brands aren't really focused on it. And I think part of the reason is like, economics is the huge reason, right? Like you never know what somebody's margins are. And frankly, if you are a brand new startup brand, let's put some labels on some of this stuff.
Sure,
so let's
please.
say you are doing, I don't know, $2 million in GMV as a brand. It's pretty decent. You're 2-3 people in, you're growing, you put your own money into it, or maybe you've got some money to put into it. I think that it's challenging for that particular brand to get a PO from Target and be excited about it. And just basically because that you got to finance that PO, you don't know if it's going to sell, maybe it gets charged back and you're screwed pretty much, right? It's a big risk. But also, I think that's at the far end, right? Like the big box POs. There's so many more retailers in between in terms of, boutique mom and pop stores. Like for example, like we did some research on board games. And this is huge. Like board games is such a fast growth category. E-com, it's
Interesting.
insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
And the websites are like old websites from like 2001, haven't been updated, but it's like it's part of the buying experience, right? Like that's why you're a hobbyist. You're going on that site because of the look and feel of it, and you're ordering online.
Some nostalgia.
Right.
Kinda.
And they have this cult following because it's a niche with a strong customer base that keeps growing, and they keep adding to it every year, when millennials are growing up and purchasing power goes up. But they also have a really strong distribution network with mom and pop hobbyist stores, like Southern California or in Nebraska, random places, but they're doing like millions of dollars in sales every month, right? Like they're not in Target, they're not in the big box stores. They're in these niche retail distribution network that they've established over the past 10 years, and that's a growth vehicle for some of these brands.
Speaking of board games, Monopoly obviously does a really great job at it, but the kind of piggybacking on what you're saying, it's not always just Monopoly. You have different versions, and this is about taking up more real estate, whether it's on the shelves or whether it's digital real estate, where, you have, the Cheaters version of Monopoly. They have, the Star Wars version, they have the Disney version, they have all these different versions, so they're opening up, it's not just Monopoly anymore.
Yeah.
Here's different demographics that they're going after, and at the same time they're expanding their shelf space, they're expanding their footprint.
Yeah.
And I think that's another great way to capture growth. You
So
know?
variations, licensing,
Yeah.
those are some cool ways for
Oh, yeah.
brands to grow. I like that.
I think the story of ecom right now is a story of data in general. Like, the only reason we're able to differentiate this much is if let's rewind 20 years ago. You know, you put your product in a store, there was high level data on traffic and what people were buying historically at that store. Today, we know who our customers are down to the very detail. So you can literally extrapolate that and create a sales plan and marketing plan behind that. That includes retail.com and everything else in between. But you can micro-segment the sales channels too. And I feel like that's what, being from the other side, on the logistics and the commerce side, I see that the most successful brands aren't just spraying and praying. They're not just like, we're gonna list on every sales channel. It's the data that they have on their customer base and the customer base, the SKU by customer type, that is enabling them to turn on channels quickly and capture that. Because the truth also is, product life cycles are way shorter today than they were, 10, 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's not once a year.
Exactly.
It's like once a quarter kind of. You can,
Yeah.
and that's not even clothing. Like
Yeah.
it's iterations on like the board games or the toy or.
Technology
That's right.
moves so fast that
Exactly.
you're like,
Do you think people want to focus more on the online channels because building a brand at retail is hard? Like, is it the workload? While the payoffs, frankly, could be much greater. Where you could hit kind of volume and in mass quicker going the retail route. It's certainly easier to sit behind a computer
Right.
and just kind of pay for ads
Yeah.
than building the brick and mortar presence. So do you think that that's kind of part of the?
I would say yes and no. And the yes part is it's obvious. You don't need a merchandising team, a finance team, FP&A. Like, going into retail requires headcount, period, right?
Okay.
You could say the same about online if you want to take like a hardcore digital strategy, but you can outsource most of it at a relatively low cost and acquire the same amount of eyeballs. I think where things are converging, and now we're seeing normalization in the market of how people go to market, is digital first. You create your tribe, build your buzz, you have order volume history, and then retailers are like, okay. And that's another thing, you can negotiate more with retailers if you have sales volume, as opposed to if you're just going, hey, I have a cool product, it was on Shark Tank, can you buy it, right? Like, you can say, no, I have a cool product with, 1 million customers,
That's even more powerful than Shark Tank,
Right,
like showing
right.
the customers. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that, and frankly, I think when you see your customer data, you'll always be in power of where your brand is and how much you sell for, and nobody that has sway over your marketing. I feel like it's all about leverage with retail right now, even for .com, right? Like, the brands have the leverage where they didn't. Like, brands have never had leverage.
right.
Now you do, you really do, right? Like, and those dollars are. This is the real question. Let's say you SKU A, similar products. One raises $100,000 in seed money. The other one raises the same $100,000. One decides to spend it on Facebook ads, and the other decides to finance a PO to Walmart. I'd rather go with the Facebook ads. You could hedge your bet a lot better with your customer acquisition. I mean, you'll get 5% returns maybe. Like, on the Walmart side, the onus is on Walmart to move that product, right? You don't know what their
You
strategy
gotta take the
is.
destiny into your own hands.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, I agree with you.
I'm glad you brought up advertising. So how, whether it's tools or technology, are brands doing enough advertising, or what vehicles in 2019 do you see brands that what should they be using to advertise? Both on like pay-per-click side or something like a sponsored product versus how much should go towards a CPM and just like the top of the funnel branding, like introducing people to your product.
That's a tough one. I mean, I think what's working right now, and you've already mentioned it, is the Facebook, the Instagram, the influencers. I mean, that's been going on for a while now, but really that's creating the awareness.
Yeah.
We're utilizing, our social media technology to advertise. I mean, needless to say, the billboards, the commercials, things like that. I mean, it's kind of an old school way of doing things, and it's like you have to transition.
You can't unknow attribution.
Right.
So for digital marketers, when they start having, when they have pixels that they can put on their site, and they can kind of follow, this paid acquisition, like, once you have that, it's hard to start justifying, using kind of the offline marketing vehicles, because it's hard to, kind of calculate the attribution, or there becomes kind of very manual steps to attribution. So
Yeah, I think there's brand building, and then there's advertising.
Yeah.
I think brand building, you don't know what your ROI is going to be a lot of times, or it's just an investment in building your brand. Trade shows, like I said, billboards, commercials, those types of things.
Yeah.
Building brands. And talking about customer acquisition, Facebook, Amazon, Instagram, things like that. You're getting data, you're converting customers, and measuring that data and getting the sale.
Yeah.
So, two
That's
different vehicles.
a great